What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the stream, and it is time for Season 5 of Moneyball with the Colorado Rockies. The first 4 campaigns have all gone incrementally better, so this year has the most pressure of any to perform at a high level. This was also the most financially intense offseason of the rebuild so far, and as much as we hated to do it, we had to start making some tough decisions to stay under a $110 million cap. The extensions we handed out over the past couple seasons, combined with the aggressive acquisition of Dylan Cruz at last year's deadline, finally forced our hand. The mission? Move salary while staying competitive, and if possible, acquire players who fit our long-term vision. We started with the blockbuster deal, sending starting pitcher Max Meyer, second baseman Marco Vargas, and relief pitcher Luis Patino to the Angels in exchange for center field prospect Alan Feldhaus. Meyer's been rock solid in our rotation, but at $13 million this year, and without the frontline upside we'd hoped for, he became a luxury we simply couldn't afford. Vargas, while promising, was blocked in the infield picture and likely a couple years away from contributing. And Patino was due a raise that I'm not sure he was really worth, so he likely would have ended up being a cap casualty anyways. In return, we're adding Feldhaus, a high-potential center fielder with on-base skills, speed, and good instincts in the field. He's not an elite defender, and the power's still coming along, but we think there's something here. In a system that still hasn't quite figured out the outfield long-term behind Dylan Cruz, this was a valuable addition. The most painful move of the offseason came next, however. Drake Baldwin was dealt to the Houston Astros for second base prospect Sam Benedict. Baldwin gave us 2 straight years of nearly 5 WAR production behind the plate, a true offensive anchor and a clubhouse leader. But Harry Ford's emergence gave us some flexibility, and with Baldwin's development now maxed and some concerns about his long-term pop, it felt like the right move at the right time. The return, thankfully, was a legitimate prospect in Benedict, who brings elite potential and already flashes plus pop for the position, and has the glove to be an asset at second. If we can refine his approach at the plate, I think he could be a star. Once we trimmed the financial fat, we turned around and made one move to shore up the MLB roster. Center field prospect Geraldo Sixto and starting pitching prospect Johnny Robinson were traded to the Chicago Cubs for starting pitcher Cade Horton. Horton's been overlooked in Chicago, but he brings a polished, balanced profile and still sits on a league minimum deal for the next couple seasons. He likely slots into our mid-rotation immediately. While Sixto was a former top prospect for us, he's lost a little bit of potential in the last couple of years. And Robinson, while promising, kind of blocked in our system as we're really deep at the starting pitching position. This was a targeted addition and one we're confident will pay off quickly. With money tight, free agency was completely off the table. We made no MLB signings, just a few spring training depth guys on minimum deals competing for final roster spots. We didn't add any new extensions either, just focused on retaining our arbitration players and renewing contracts. The financial goal was clear and we hit it, landing exactly at our $110 million cap. Call it a tightrope walking, but it was necessary. We also made a complete overhaul to our coaching staff. Manager, farm director, pitching coach, the whole group. There was too much talent underperforming, and we needed a group that could develop our guys and squeeze the most out of every single guy in our organization. We also made a couple of adjustments to some of our pitching guys in Carlos Aguilar and Brody Beck, moving them to the bullpen full-time. Aguilar has shown flashes as a starter, but he's not one of our higher potential guys, and without a strong Ks per 9 profile, I was worried about his long-term value as a starter. We'll see what he can do now that he's working in shorter outings, and maybe the Ks per 9 can get a little bit of a bump. For Brecht, he's always been a high potential starter for us, but he's never really kind of performed consistently, so I'm hoping that his stuff can play up in shorter stints and really give us some of that high potential value that we've seen from him in the past. Heading into the season, the lineup looks mostly familiar at the top, though the loss of Baldwin stings. Dylan Cruz should be more comfortable this year and is locked in for the full campaign. Sterling Thompson won the starting job in left field out of spring, but he'll need to hit long-term to keep it, because Gavin Cross and Drew Jones are also nipping at his heels for the opportunity. In the rotation, all eyes are on Cade Horton and Jude Rivas. If they step up, this group can do some real damage. Gabriel Hughes earned the final spot in the rotation after a strong spring. In the bullpen? It looks nasty. Vodnik, Hill, Justice, Black, and Chavis form a legitimate core. Brett gets tossed into the fire early, he'll have to find a way to sink or swim. We're locked in, the window is open, but now it's time to prove we can win while managing our checkbook. Checking in just after the month of May, we are off to the best start since we kicked off this series, sitting with a strong 35-23 record, putting us at atop the NL West by 2 games. This was fueled by a 19-9 April and a steady finish to May after a brief mid-month slide. The offense has been red hot, posting a team slash line of 265, 341, 454, ranking 6th in average, 2nd in on-base percentage, and 6th in slugging. While the pitching staff has held strong with a 3.84 ERA, good for 12th in the major leagues. This group hasn't even hit its ceiling yet, and I think that's what makes the early success feel sustainable. Taking a look at the hitters, Jet Williams has been unstoppable. His 982 OPS, 224 ISO, and 22.6 batting runs all point to an MVP caliber start. He's combining plus contact with elite power gains and a strong walk rate, and he's already up to a 3.3 WAR season already. The breakout is real for him. Harry Ford has seamlessly filled the void left by Drake Baldwin and then some. With a 919 OPS, 11.4% walk rate, and an elite 13.9% K rate, he's already racked up 2.8 WAR and 17.9 batting runs. This is what a franchise catcher looks like, folks. Dylan Cruz has started to deliver on his early returns this season, as we had hoped. His OPS sits at a pretty 862 and his ISO is over 200, and he's posting career bets in both walk rate, strikeout rates, and he's already up to a 2 WAR with 12.1 batting runs. He's quickly paying off as the big investment we made. Zach Fiend continues to add value in all the subtle ways. His bat still is only a tick above average with a 200 ISO and 1 batting runs, but his elite defense in center and sneaky base running value have him sitting at a 1.6 WAR. Adael Amador missed a chunk of time due to a shoulder injury, but when he's been in the lineup, he's been on fire. In just 72 plate appearances, he owns a 1,200 OPS, a 333 ISO, and a ridiculous 21% walk rate. He's already banking 13.2 batting runs and a 1.5 WAR. Max Muncy's continued to make some impressive strides. He's trimmed down his strikeouts, improved his on-base percentage, and his slugging is showing up big time, all to the tune of an 823 OPS, 9.4 batting runs, and a 1.2 WAR. Bryce Matthews has stepped into some more playing time due to the Amador injury, and he's handled it pretty well. He's currently hitting 305 with a 765 OPS. While the power hasn't quite shown up yet, he's still sitting at 3.2 batting runs with a respectable approach, so it suggests that he's a pretty reliable bench/platoon presence. Drew Jones has been quiet in limited action. Across 66 plate appearances, he's slashing a mediocre 217, 288, 300, and sits at -2 batting runs. There's still belief in his upside, but he just hasn't quite clicked yet this season. Warming Bernabel is in the middle of a serious regression. His OPS is all the way down to 579, and he's almost at -8 batting runs, reflecting a collapse in both average and even more so in his power, which was already pretty devoid to start with. His approach remains decent, but the contact quality just simply isn't there. Gavin Cross might be the surprise of the spring. Signed him off the non-tender market this offseason, and he's thriving in a platoon role with a 754 OPS, solid plate skills, and 4 batting runs. He's a strong side asset against righties, and he's proving to be a sharp pickup. Michael Toglia has brought the thunder. He's already up to 17 home runs with a 266 ISO, though his 7.5% walk rate is a bit of a drop-off from previous seasons. Still, the damage is real, and at 4.2 batting runs and even with the 215 average, he's performing for us in an admirable way. Sterling Thompson started off this year strong, but has quickly faded. He's now relegated to a bench position, and his OPS is down to 689, hovering just below replacement level with -0.7 batting runs and a neutral WAR. Taking a look at the pitchers, Nick Lodolo has been a rotation anchor. A 3.22 ERA is backed up by a strong 3.97 FIP and 3.21 component ERA, showing how effective he's been. He's also racking up over 10 strikeouts per 9 and at 0.9 WAR already, really proving to be a bargain frontline option. Gabriel Hughes has settled in beautifully as the number 5 starter, ERA under 4 with the FIP right around 4 and a really strong component ERA at 2.91. He's quietly been one of the more efficient arms for our team, compiling a .8 WAR along the way. Victor Vodnik continues to dominate at the back end of our bullpen. He owns a sub-2 ERA, a 2.35 FIP, and a 1.93 component ERA, racking up over 9 strikeouts per 9 and already sitting at a 0.7 WAR. One of the game's elite closers and still an incredibly team-friendly deal. Cade Horton has been steady, 3.39 ERA. FIP is a little elevated at 4.38, but the component ERA is 3.23, so suggesting he's kind of been balanced so far in his performance. But he's been more than capable in his mid-rotation role, logging a 0.6 WAR in his first full look in the majors. Jaden Hill just keeps getting outs. He's got the sub-2 ERA, a good FIP at 2.38, and a dominant 1.30 component ERA, making him one of the game's most underrated bullpen arms. He's not flashy, but racking up 0.6 WAR from efficiency. Mike Black has been electric. Despite a high whip, he boasts a sub-1 ERA, a 3.10 FIP, and nearly 10 strikeouts per 9, with a beautiful home runs per 9 of only 0.4. He's holding down late-inning duties as a lefty and with poise. Chase Petty continues to be plagued by the home run ball. His FIP's ballooning up near 5 thanks to a 2.0 home runs per 9 rate, dragging him down on what otherwise would be some pretty strong performances. He's striking out almost 10 hitters per 9, but the fly balls have really hurt him. Brody Brecht has actually looked pretty good in relief. He's made a nice, seamless transition. 3.56 FIP and a sub-3 component ERA, striking out nearly 12 hitters per 9 innings. He's doing exactly what we were hoped for him out of him when we moved him to the pen. The stuff is playing up and the early returns are strong. Evan Justice has been a little underwhelming. Strikeouts per 9 are under 7, and that's representing a troubling dip that's been trending over the last couple of seasons. And this is showing up in his FIP with a 4.21 and a component ERA of 4.03, suggesting only mere replacement level production. There's still time to rebound, but I don't really love the trend he's having right now. Jude Rivas had a rough start to the season, but he's really stabilized of late. His ERA is still a little bloated at 4.5, and the FIP is over 5, but I think he's got a lot of room to grow. If he can just get that home runs per 9 number in check, I think he's going to be a solid option for us going forward. Alex Santos looks better than his actual ERA says. He's had a couple of blow-up outings, so that's really inflated his numbers. So looking at a 4.12 FIP and 10 Ks per 9, I think there's a lot of upside here, and if he can just find a little bit more consistency, I think he'll be all right. Juan Chavis has kind of regressed a little bit. He struggled to find his footing this season with an ERA of 6.5 and a FIP not supporting that he has any positive regression coming anytime soon. He's really been getting hit hard, and the home run issues are mounting. May need to send him back to AAA just to get him a little bit of a reset and get him back on track. And finally, for the Major League guys, Jordy Vargas simply is not performing. His FIP is nearing 7, his component ERA is nearing 6, and his sky-high walk and home run rates have made him a liability in long relief. A demotion could be looming if he doesn't turn it around quickly and possibly even find himself in a bullpen role going forward instead of the rotations. Chronicling the performances of our top prospects, let us start with the AAA hitters and Alan Feldhaus. Our offseason acquisition from the Los Angeles Angels is off to a very good start in our organization with an 800 OPS and a 14% walk rate and 10 batting runs, already pointing towards Feldhaus emerging as a strong long-term option for us going forward. Strikeout rate's a little high, nearing 30%, but with his on-base skills being what they are and budding power, he's looking like a future top-of-the-order threat for us. Sammy Marquez is doing everything he can to earn a promotion, slashing a 299, 374, 477 with excellent plate metrics and 12 batting runs. He's already 24 and clearly MLB ready, maybe just a matter of finding him the right opportunity at the next level. For Curtis Peck, it's been a little bit of an uneven season. His power has lagged for stretches, but in recent weeks, he's got a 188 ISO over his last 36 plate appearances, suggesting some signs of life. His walk rate's over 9%, but his strikeout rate's still at 28, so we're going to need to see him kind of refine that approach at the plate a little bit to get some more of that power ticking up. Herb Ricker continues to rise. He's an outstanding OPS of 836 and really behind a great approach at the plate. 14% walk rate, only 18% on the strikeouts, earning a potential bump to B already in the process. His growing pop is about 190 on the ISO, only enhances his profile as one of the system's fastest risers. It's been a stagnant stretch for Francisca. A 27% strikeout rate and a .302 on-base percentage are dragging down what should be a more balanced profile. There's still some pop and walkability, but the overall impact just hasn't shown up quite yet. Still waiting for Juarez's power to reappear in AAA. With just a .311 slugging and -3 batting runs, this season's been a puzzling regression for him. His plate discipline still looks good, his base on ball rate is over 10%, so it's keeping him alive, but something's just missing in his swing impact. Taking a look at the AA hitters, Alex Marcello, our first round pick from last year, is off to a little bit of a slow start. 644 OPS reflects a raw profile that's still developing. Walk rate looks solid at just about 9.5%, but his contact rates need to improve a little bit, and he hasn't quite driven the ball with any consistency yet. Finally, Sam Benedict has kind of been pretty disappointing for us. I thought this was going to be a really high upside acquisition this offseason, but not playing well in his first taste with us. 542 OPS, he's got a strikeout rate near 32%, and just batting runs have been atrocious. The glove hasn't quite been enough yet either to offset the struggles with the bat, but he's still young and there's plenty of time left to develop. Looking at the pitching prospects now, Noble Meyer has been pitching very well in AAA. 3.13 ERA and a .332 FIP with over 9 strikeouts per 9 signal that he's ready for another MLB shot. His efficiency and command have sharpened, and he looks like a logical next man up if we need to find somebody to reinforce our staff at the next level. Since converting to relief, Carlos Aguilar has been lights out in AAA. He's really keeping runners off base with a sub-1 whip, limiting damage, and pitching with more authority. He's possibly our most reliable AAA arm right now, and he may be finding himself a role in the bullpen in the near future. Tim Harris has had a little bit of a learning curve in AAA. ERA is up around 4.5, and his base on balls per 9 is taking a little bit of a bump, but his stuff is still flashing for us. For his age at this level, he's holding steady, and that's a win, especially with a healthy strikeout clip over 8 per 9. Norm Patterson's raw numbers don't inspire confidence, but when you dive in deeper, he looks like he's trending upwards. In his recent stretch, he's pitched very well, so if that holds, he could really reclaim being a top prospect for us. Marco Rodriguez has quietly become one of the more exciting arms in the system. A 3.14 FIP and just 1.9 base on balls per 9 point to some really high-end potential for our bullpen going forward. The fastball and secondary stuff are really working at the AAA level, and he could possibly get a promotion at some point this year. Christopher Ruiz has kind of struggled in AAA at age 20. 6.84 ERA, 6.12 FIP, and 2.6 home runs per 9 simply aren't going to cut it. After dominating last year, this is a needed reminder that development isn't always linear, so he's going to need to recenter himself before moving forward again. In AA, James Napick is just shoving. A 296 FIP and a 113 whip is just all we could have asked for out of our first round pick. Strong strikeout numbers, even more impressive for a teenager. Everything's trending towards a mid-rotation option or better for him. Very, very exciting to watch him grow. Frank Colon has been performing solid in his first pro season. 3.96 ERA and a 3.18 component ERA. He's throwing strikes and he's showing pitchability, though he hasn't missed quite many bats yet, so there's definitely some room to grow. For Sammy Vargas, the ERA of 137 looks great, but his peripherals are a little more concerning. He's got a 4.32 FIP, a 4.5 base on balls per 9, and under 7 strikeouts per 9, so we're looking a little bit more cautious with him. He's surviving on soft contact and command right now, but we really need to see him start missing more bats in the future. Moving on to the MLB draft, for the first time in the series, we're going to be picking in the back half of the first round at 16th overall following our first winning season. That's a milestone in and of itself, but it also means we got to adjust our draft strategy a bit. The elite talents are going to be off the board by the time we're up, so we're going to have to shift towards upside depth and calculated risks to keep strengthening our system. In the first round, we narrowed it down to 2 arms, the safer college righty in Kenneth Carr, or the high school upside pitcher in lefty Adrian Campaneris. In the end, we swung for upside and took Campaneris. He's projectable with a big frame and a lot of growth left in both his command and arsenal, but there's legitimate long-term potential here, and this is the kind of pick that could pay major dividends down the road. In the second round, this pick came together pretty easily. Diego Dominguez shows an advanced plate approach for a teenager, and his physical projection hits at some untapped raw power. There's still some refinement needed in his swing and approach, but he's got a well-balanced profile. If he taps into his power more consistently, he could emerge as a real middle-of-the-order type down the road. For a competitive balance round, we had to choose between two prep righties here, in Benton and Casey Holcomb. Benton comes with a slightly higher starting overall and feels like a little bit more of a stable pick. He doesn't have the massive upside that Casey Holcomb might have, but there's a very real chance that he could develop into a dependable rotation piece. After a couple of higher risk picks earlier, I think this is a solid value grab to kind of stabilize the class going forward. The upside train continues in the third round. Peter Ray is raw and probably the biggest question mark of any pick we've made so far, but he's already oozing potential. His secondary stuff needs polish, and the overall profile will take time to come together, but if it does, oh boy, he could be the kind of pick that reshapes a draft class. In the fourth round, we're going to take a swing on Walter Jung, a completely unscouted pitcher, but had just enough raw potential and really raw stuff to be worth a flyer here. There's definitely some volatility in this pick, but I'll admit, I'm kind of intrigued by what I'm seeing right now. In the fifth round, it's time to balance some things out. First baseman Tim Schneider isn't going to wow anybody defensively, and he's a bad first profile, but he could really play up in that role. He'll likely just be an organizational depth piece, but there's just enough pop and contact ability here to make him worth tracking. And if he finds some way to make it into the majors, that makes it a very good pick here in the fifth round. And finally, in the sixth round, we take the college lefty Mackenzie Favre. He's a polished, efficient pitcher who rose late on our scouting boards. He may not have any standout tools, but he's a steady presence with solid projection, and he can work his way into the rotation or swingman role with time. A clean, value-based way to round out this class. Recapping the draft, this class came together in a way that felt a little chaotic. We never quite got a shot at a safe, high-floor player, and nearly every round forced a decision between upside and polish. That being said, we stayed aggressive and leaned into ceiling. There's certainly a world where this group doesn't pan out as hoped, but there's also one where this becomes the draft that sneakily fixes our upper minors pipeline and helps us become a powerhouse moving forward in this franchise. Now we are at the trade deadline, and things are going to be a little bit different this year. We are finally entering a deadline as not sellers or opportunistic flippers, but as true buyers. And that shift in philosophy came with a more surgical approach. We didn't need a roster overhaul, we needed a boost. Specifically, we targeted left field production and sought a player who could bring impact power to the middle of our lineup without disrupting our defensive structure too heavily. The rotation was holding strong and the bullpen is elite, so aside from a soft need at third base, it was really about adding that key offensive piece in left field. And we found our guy in a trade with the Los Angeles Angels. We're going to acquire Kyle Schwarber in exchange for third baseman Warming Bernabel and first baseman Charlie Condon. Schwarber may not bring much with the glove, but what he does bring is some thunder with the bat. And in this case, that's exactly what we wanted. His ability to control strike zone, force pitchers into mistakes, and deliver clutch power makes him a strong fit for our playoff push. He also comes with extensive veteran experience and a World Series ring to boot, which adds valuable intangibles to a clubhouse that really could use that type of leadership. As for the outgoing pieces, Bernabel had been in a prolonged offensive slump this season and had seen his playing time diminish quite a bit. Still, he's shown enough success in the majors last year to intrigue the Angels as a potential everyday infielder. Condon, meanwhile, is a former top prospect whose loud tools haven't fully translated yet, but a change of scenery could spark something in him and help him kind of recapture that former glory. For the Angels, they're still clearly retooling, so they're going to acquire two young bats with potential upside and team control. Looking at the end of our deadline here, it was just one move, but it could be a season-defining one. Schwarber gives us exactly what we needed, an experienced, power-first bat who can slot right into the middle of our order and lengthen the lineup. The cost was reasonable, and we still held onto all of our top prospects and core contributors. It's go time. We won't be handing out any extensions this year as we continue to operate with a very tight budget. With long-term money already committed to core players and no real standout candidates currently pushing for new deals, it simply didn't make sense to stretch our financial flexibility any further. The front office remains committed to staying under that $110 million cap in subsequent seasons. Taking a look at our draft picks from this year, our 16th overall pick brought us Adrian Campaneris, and he's going to be a solid mid-first round selection with a 65 starting overall and 85 potential. While his overall profile isn't flawless, as his hits per nine is his strongest attribute, which is not something we typically look for, we're confident in his ability to contribute and develop within our deep pitching pipeline. In the second round, Diego Dominguez proves to be a mixed bag. He's got decent beat potential, but a relatively weak starting overall. Also, his power and plate discipline didn't quite match our initial scouting reports, so that's a little disappointing as well. Not a bad pick by any means, but a bit underwhelming compared to our expectations. Our competitive balance round pick has been a massive disappointment. Stuart Benton is going to come in with deep potential. While he does profile as a very high strikeout pitcher, his results are falling a little bit short. Maybe an immediate conversion to the bullpen could be his best path for extracting some good value out of him. But however, in the third round, we delivered in a major way with Peter Ray. He is a generational talent, boasting a 64 overall and a jaw-dropping 99 potential. This is exactly the kind of pick that can transform a franchise and anchor of the future rotation. An absolute home run for this draft class and for our organization. Now, unfortunately, our fourth round pick, Walter Jung, didn't pan out as hoped. Despite an initial appealing profile overall, his results are ending up kind of underwhelming. That being said, should still provide some valuable depth in the organization. In the fifth round, Tim Schneider is meeting our expectations. He's going to be a solid organizational bat with a 65 starting overall and 69 potential. While he may not reach the majors, his strong batting attributes make him a useful piece in the minors, as he can support some of our developing top prospects in the lineup. Finally, in the sixth round, Mackenzie Favre was another strong pitching selection. He exceeded his scouted potential and reached the high end of his starting overall range, making him a great late-round value for us. Overall, we snagged a generational talent in Ray in this class, and that makes it an automatic success. Despite some concerns, I really like this haul, and we continue to build on our strong starting pitching depth, which is already impressive. Now the challenge is to start stacking more impactful hitters alongside these arms in future classes. Before we finish out this season, we'll take one last look at our lineups rotation and bullpen. With the addition of Kyle Schwarber, the lineup now boasts formidable power and depth from top to bottom, creating a truly intimidating offensive unit, capable of punishing pitchers from both sides of the plate. Schwarber's veteran presence and pop add a crucial dimension to an already strong lineup, elevating the team's overall run-scoring potential. Meanwhile, the rotation remains steady, relying on consistent performances without any major shakeups, which suits the squad well given the overall balance. The bullpen continues to be the team's cornerstone, delivering dominant late-inning performances that have been pivotal in securing wins and maintaining leads. Their stability and effectiveness remains a key reason this team is in strong playoff contention. The end of the season is now here. Let us take a look at how our minor league teams and prospects performed. The Hartford Yard Goats finished the season with a 64-74 record, kind of reflecting the team's inconsistencies through the year. After a sluggish start, they found their stride during the summer months, largely thanks to some strong pitching and keeping their opponents in check. However, the offense remains a persistent issue, with the bats struggling to generate enough consistent run support. This imbalance between pitching and hitting held the team back from contending in a highly competitive league. Developing a more potent lineup at this level will be critical going forward to fully capitalize on the promising arms in the rotation and bullpen. In AAA, the Albuquerque Isotopes posted a disappointing 69-81 record, continuing a recent trend of underperformance at the highest minor league level. While the team had a handful of standout individual performers who showed flashes of major league readiness, the club as a whole failed to gel cohesively. Offensive production was sporadic, and the pitching staff struggled with consistency and run prevention at times. The lack of team-wide synergy in Albuquerque raises questions about the depth and readiness of some of the prospects in our organization. Nevertheless, a few key players showed encouraging signs that it could help bridge the gap to MLB success next year if development progresses smoothly. Looking at some of the hitters, Sammy Marquez had a truly outstanding season at AAA, putting up an impressive .306 batting average with an on-base percentage near .380 and a solid slugging around .480. His 27 batting runs and 3.6 WAR underline his dominance at this level. Despite a difficult 19-game stint in the majors, the experience should serve him well moving forward. This season marked a significant power increase, and Marquez also made noticeable strides defensively, transforming into a more complete player. This trajectory suggests he is on the cusp of becoming a valuable contributor at the major league level, with both the bat and glove now aligning towards that goal. Alan Feldhaus showed tremendous growth this year despite missing the last month due to injury. His on-base skills stood out with a very respectable .352 on-base percentage, highlighting his keen eye and ability to draw walks. The power numbers also took a positive step forward, which has been an area of needed improvement. Overall, Feldhaus's development as a high-contact, high-on-base percentage center fielder gives the organization a much-needed asset in the outfield pipeline. If he can stay healthy next season, he could be pushing for a major league opportunity sooner rather than later. Curtis Peck's offensive numbers have continued to disappoint this season, with a below-average slash line of .244, .312, .373, and a power output that remains inconsistent. This ongoing lack of offensive production is starting to weigh on his long-term potential. However, on the positive side, he has shown some improvement defensively, which helps stabilize his floor as a potential regular contributor at the next level. The hope is that Peck's offense can eventually catch up to his defensive skills, but overall his developmental path is now at a crossroads. Herb Ricker had a breakout season, both in terms of production and development. He had a slash line of .266, .362, .446, which is impressive for a player of his age at AAA, and he's continued to climb our prospect rankings. What makes Ricker especially intriguing is his combination of an elite plate approach and growing power potential. He looks poised to carve out a meaningful role in the Major League outfield in the near future, assuming he continues to make steady progress at the plate. Welben Francisca ended the season on a strong note, put together a hot streak that improved his overall offensive line. However, the larger picture remains a bit murky as he struggled to consistently get on base and keep his strikeout rate in check over the course of the past couple seasons. This result leads to a slight drop in his overall potential. He's still a player who clearly has the tools to put it all together, but it all hasn't come together quite yet at the AAA level, and his development will need to accelerate next season. Juarez had a strange and disappointing season offensively. His slash line of .228, .316, .351 is underwhelming, especially given his walk rate, which hints at some underlying plate discipline. While the strikeout rate is concerning, there's still some reason for optimism if he can make better contact and unlock more power. Some potential has slipped, but he remains on the top prospect radar as somebody with upside who could develop into a useful contributor if adjustments are made. Looking at the AA hitters, Alex Marcello's first professional season, it was a little rough at first glance. But when factoring in his youth and the challenge of adjusting to professional ball, his performance isn't all that alarming. His walk and strikeout rates suggest a player holding his own against older competition. The real test will be how he uses this experience moving forward, as improvement next year could establish him as a legitimate top prospect in our system. Now, unfortunately, Sam Benedict endured an abysmal season, posting a weak offensive numbers and seeing a decline in his potential, barely holding on to that A level. His inability to make consistent contact and limited defensive contributions have raised some questions about his future. However, at only 19 years of age, he still has time to turn some things around, but the organization is going to expect some significant progress moving forward. Taking a look at the pitchers, Norm Pedersen put together a solid campaign with a .420 ERA and nearly 3 WAR impact at AAA. His steady performance and consistent development make him a strong candidate for either a rotation or bullpen spot on the MLB roster next year. The work ethic and gradual improvements are signs that he can become a reliable contributor at the highest level. Tim Harris continues to look like a promising young piece with a respectable .384 ERA in a challenging environment against older hitters. His strikeout numbers are encouraging, and he appears unfazed by the jump in competition he made this year. His steady development and high upside make him one of the more exciting pitching prospects in our system. Marco Rodriguez simply dominated at AAA, posting an impressive .282 ERA with strong underlying metrics. He earned a brief look in the MLB bullpen in the late season, but was sent back to AAA to finish out his development. Given his command and consistency, he looks poised to compete for a bullpen spot on the Major League roster next season. Vargas struggled in both Major League appearances this year, but after being sent back down to the AAA, he performed much better. His future may lie as a full-time reliever now, a move that could benefit both him and the organization by maximizing his strengths in shorter stints. Noble Meyer's MLB outings were very inconsistent, but he continues to show that he can be very effective at the AAA level. The challenge ahead is bridging that gap to succeed consistently in the majors, or else he risks becoming a classic quadruple A player who dominates in the minors but struggles in the majors. LP Langevin has been a strong bullpen arm in AAA, providing valuable depth for the organization. With his continued development, he could earn an opportunity to pitch at the Major League level next year and help bolster the team in the late innings. Christopher Ruiz bounced back from somewhat of a tough start, but ultimately finished with some underwhelming numbers. This upcoming season will be critical for his development to see if he can rebound and reach his full potential. At AA, James Napick had an excellent season that solidified his status as a high-end future starter. A .280 ERA and excellent strikeout-to-walk ratio suggests he is ready to advance to AAA next year, and I feel confident he's going to continue to progress rapidly through our system and make a Major League debut sooner than expected. It was a quiet but effective first pro season for Nelson Sparbory, the former third-round pick. He showed the ability to hold his own and impressed with his control and strikeout numbers. He's a sleeper prospect to keep a close eye on going forward. Gabriel Colon has emerged as a potential steal in the 6th round last year with some eye-popping strikeout rates and strong results. His combination of raw stuff and command make him a very exciting arm to track going forward. Frank Colon was kind of middling in the stats department, but overall made some good developmental strides. The organization believes in his growth this season, and that will pay some dividends going forward as he continues to refine his craft. And finally, Sammy Vargas hit a little bit of a developmental plateau this year, raising concerns that he might be stalling like past prospects with similar profiles, a la Wellington Herrera. This upcoming season will be pivotal to determine if he can regain his momentum and fulfill that high-end potential that he once had. Moment of truth time as we check out how the MLB team did, and we capped off an incredible 92-70 season, winning the NL West in dramatic fashion after the pivotal late September series sweep of the Padres. We started the series 3 games back, and this sweep combined with key losses by the Padres in the final week of the season vaulted our Rockies to the division crown on tiebreakers. We finished with the best record in the National League as well, showcasing a balanced approach at the plate with a .254, .327, .433 slash line, ranking 17th in batting average, 7th in on-base percentage, and 16th in slugging percentage. Pitching was a cornerstone, with the staff posting a .377 ERA, 3rd best in the majors, anchored by a dominant bullpen. Walks allowed were well controlled at 8th best in the majors, but pitcher strikeouts lagged behind at 24th ranked, indicating a key area to improve on moving forward. Taking a look at how our guys performed, Jet Williams had an exceptional season, finishing as one of the top 3 position players in baseball by WAR at 7.3. His offensive output was explosive, an OPS of 888 and an ISO of almost 190, showcasing his blend of power and contact. He also led the league with 56 doubles and stole 34 bags, contributing substantial value on the bases as well. His plate discipline remains elite with almost 11% walk rate and a very manageable 16.5% strikeout rate. Defensively, he's well-rounded at shortstop and remains a cornerstone of our franchise's future. Harry Ford emerged as one of the NL's top catchers and all of Major League Baseball, posting a 6.3 WAR that ranked him in the league's top 10 overall. His offensive production was robust with an OPS of 858 and a strong 191 ISO, showcasing power and ability to get on base with a 12% walk rate. His low strikeout rate of just over 16% reflects solid contact skills and plate discipline. Behind the plate, his framing and game calling help support the staff, making him an invaluable two-way player. Zach Veen posted a breakout season. He's been playing very steady throughout this franchise, but he now posts career highs with a 4.8 WAR fueled by a 757 OPS and an excellent 200 ISO power mark. His batting runs more than doubled previous career highs at nearly 12, and he stole 19 bases successfully out of 20 attempts, adding valuable base running impact as well. Even with a slightly elevated strikeout rate at 25%, his approach at the plate is still outstanding with almost a 10% walk rate, and defensively, he is outstanding and making him an incredible contributor in center field every day. Dylan Cruz also posted some career best numbers in several key categories, posting a 4.4 WAR behind an 847 OPS and a robust 212 ISO. His batting runs totaled almost 30, reflecting an all-around offensive upgrade. Notably, he reduced his strikeout rate to 21.7% while maintaining a very solid walk rate just over 8%, showcasing improved plate discipline and approach at the plate. Max Muncy showed a crazy amount of breakout power potential as one of the biggest surprises of the season, tying for third in the NL in home runs with 40, boasting a hefty 271 ISO. His OPS was a strong 877, underpinned by an improved walk rate of 8.5%. Despite a slightly higher strikeout rate than you'd like to see at 29%, his slugging and run creation made him a feared middle-of-the-order bat and a significant lineup catalyst. Kyle Schwarber was acquired mid-season and immediately made a huge impact for us. He finished with an 888 OPS and an impressive 227 ISO. His plate discipline was excellent with an 11.5% walk rate and only 23.5% strikeout rate, leading to 40 batting runs, which is insane, and 3.6 WAR despite the limited time that he played with us. Although he's a little bit of a liability defensively, Schwarber's power bat was a major upgrade for our lineup and a key factor in this team's late season surge. Drew Jones' slash line was underwhelming on the surface, but his advanced metrics tell a better story. His walk rate looks pretty good and his strikeout rate is mostly controlled, showcasing he's got some solid plate discipline, and he's still also tapped into his power pretty consistently with a near 180 ISO. He still has some room to grow into a consistent contributor, and he needs to improve his contact, but overall his foundation looks pretty decent. Adael Amador experienced a roller coaster of this season. He started really hot, but he got derailed by injuries, and then had just a terrible slump with all of this bad luck that he was experiencing. His OPS settled in nicely, though, at 740 and about a 160 ISO, supported by a strong walk rate of nearly 11% and a very, very low strikeout rate under 14%. Though his batting runs ended up at only a modest 8.4, his strong plate discipline and contact skills suggest he can rebound and be a solid everyday option going forward. Gavin Cross provided some valuable depth and timely contributions for us throughout the season. He finished with a 766 OPS, walking over 9% of the time, and striking out at a very respectable clip. While he's not a star, he was a useful bench and spot starter, especially after returning from injury, even in a more limited role in the back half of the season. Drew Romo's offensive performance was a significant weakness. His OPS was under 500. His freaking ISO was 0.018. I mean, that is incredibly low. He can't walk. His batting runs is -9. I need a new backup catcher going forward. I can't deal with this anymore. Bryce Matthews showed some glimpses in the first half of what he could contribute for us, but he faded pretty significantly in the second half of the season, finishing with a 672 OPS and an ISO just barely over 100. His walk rate was low and his strikeout rate ballooned to 33%. He had a negative 2.5 batting runs and a negative WAR. His role on the team is uncertain moving forward, and he may end up being a non-tender candidate this offseason. Matt Higgins was an intriguing guy who we added to the 40-man roster this past offseason, and he finally earned his major league shot at 29 years old. He got some pretty consistent playing time down the stretch after some injuries, and he more than held his own with a 710 OPS and nearly 190 ISO. His 0.5 batting runs in limited playing time yield a small but positive contribution. Now, it was a weird season for Michael Toglia. He just struggled throughout the year and then just crashed and burned down the stretch. His OPS sinking to 646 after a power outage that dropped his ISO to an abysmal 186. The walk rate was down under 8%, and the strikeouts jumped over 30%, leading to a negative 11.7 batting runs and a disappointing negative 1.3 WAR. Just a complete and utter shock from a guy who's been so consistent at the plate. I really hope he bounces back next season. And finally, Sterling Thompson's early season promise faded as the time went on. He finished with a 658 OPS and under 160 ISO. His negative 3.5 batting runs and negative 1.4 WAR suggests it's probably time to move on from him, likely to be non-tendered this offseason. Looking at the pitching staff, Nick Lodolo has become a true ace for us, finishing 8th in the NL in WAR among pitchers with 3.6, thanks to an outstanding ERA of 3.09 and strong peripherals, including a 348 FIP, 316 component ERA. His strikeout rate was great at 9.5 and a walkout rate that was just beautiful at 2.9 per 9. He consistently delivered quality starts and is on a bargain of a contract for a guy with his level of performance. Victor Vodnik is going to be your NL reliever of the year, and he deserved it by posting elite numbers with a minuscule ERA of 141, a 1 whip, a 189 FIP, and a 175 component ERA. Just outstanding. Struck out over 10 hitters per 9, a tight base on balls per 9 of 2.4, and only 0.2 home runs per 9. Just pure dominance, and his 2.3 WAR reflect just how good he really was. Jude Rivas was remarkably effective at controlling the strike zone, tying for the fewest walks allowed in the National League with only 1.7 allowed per 9. While his strikeout rate still needs some work as he's under 7 per 9, he still performed very solidly with a 3.83 ERA and a 3.17 component ERA. Really happy to see how well he performed and excited to see what he can do going forward. Chase Petty's season was hampered by a modestly high whip at 137 and a FIP of 471, exacerbated by a problematic 1.8 home runs per 9. He did strike out over 10 hitters per 9, but his base on balls were at 3.7, undermining his effectiveness. He did put up a modest 0.9 WAR, and he's still young enough to see him kind of improve on some of his struggles, but he really is going to have to control the walks and fly balls going forward if he wants to be consistently successful. Cade Horton showed some flashes of potential. Now his ERA was 4.29 and his FIP was a little elevated at 4.7. He's going to need to get more guys striking out, but he's really doing a good job of limiting those walks. However, he also did have some trouble with the long ball at 1.8 home runs per 9. A WAR of 0.9 reflects an okay piece right now. Hopefully he can kind of take the next step after a good season of development this year. Jaden Hill's 2.49 ERA and sub-1 whip highlight his value as a reliable bullpen arm. Now, he's still not striking out as many guys as I would like, but he's really limiting the base runners by hitting the strike zone hard and limiting walks. He posted a 0.9 WAR and was a key piece all season in the back end of our bullpen. Mike Black was outstanding in his rookie campaign with a 2.53 ERA and a 3.35 FIP, posting excellent strikeout numbers over 10 per 9. His walk rate's still going to need a little bit of work, but I was really excited to see what he was able to do this season. He finished the season injured, but he's already developing into a reliable bullpen asset. Carlos Aguilar made a seamless transition to relief as he held strong with a 1.69 ERA, a sub-1 whip, and a 3.50 FIP. Obviously still not striking out a lot of guys, but he did take a bump going to the bullpen from starters, so that's a positive. Limiting base runners is what he does best, and he did that to a tune of a 0.8 WAR in a vital bullpen role. Like Aguilar, Brody Brecht also thrived in the bullpen switch for him, posting a solid 3.33 ERA with a 3.17 FIP, an outstanding strikeout rate of 10.5 per 9, and walk rate that even looked really good at under 3 per 9, made him a strong contributor in the bullpen with a 0.7 WAR. I think he is firmly established going forward as one of the key bullpen pieces for us. Gabriel Hughes struggled with consistency, finishing the season with a 4.34 ERA, 4.85 FIP, and a 4.27 component ERA. His strikeouts per 9 numbers are a little disappointing at 6.7, and he's just walking a little bit too many guys, so there's some concerns about his control and strikeout issues. That being said, he was able to post a modest 0.7 WAR and could be a potential back end of the rotation or swingman guy for us going forward. Evan Justice had a solid but unspectacular year with a 3.68 ERA. The strikeout numbers are becoming a concern, though. He's under 7.5 per 9, so I'm kind of a little bit worried about him going forward. His arbitration cost is going to start to increase, so I think it may be time to look at some other options going forward and try to get off of his arbitration values going forward. Juan Chavis struggled early in the season before kicking into gear down the stretch. He had a 4.45 ERA to finish the year, but his FIP was better than yet, suggesting that he really was trending in the right direction near the end of the season. Strikeouts per 9 were outstanding at 11.5, and his walks looked pretty good, so I think he still has a chance to keep growing as he goes forward with his young age. Alex Santos struggled quite a bit with a 5.73 ERA and 4.27 FIP in 23 outings. Walk numbers were a little higher than I'd like and also gave up too many home runs. He could be a nice depth piece going forward, but we're facing some crossroads here as he has no minor league options left. Robert Gasser was shuffled between AAA and MLB for most of the season before finally settling into a long relief role. He posted a 1.69 ERA, even with a high 5.3 base on balls per 9, limiting himself to a WAR of 0.1. That being said, I think he did some good things for us, so definitely a guy I want to keep an eye on going forward for our bullpen. Wellington Herrera got some opportunities in the Major League bullpen at the tail end of the season due to the injury to Mike Black. Kind of a rough rookie season, posting a 5.14 ERA, but did show some good growth in the strikeout numbers, just about a batter per inning. He's still young enough to where I think he might pan out still, but he's going to need to show some significant improvements moving forward if he wants to be a consistent portion of our Major League bullpen going forward. Now, for the first time in this series, we finally have a postseason run to follow along with. We'll have the number 1 seed in the National League, and we await the victor between two divisional rivals in the San Diego Padres and the Los Angeles Dodgers. This is what our lineups will be looking like for these playoffs. Gotta love what we put together against the righties, and we can still hang very tough against lefties. Our 4-man rotation will consist of Lodolo, Rivas, Petty, and Horton. The bullpen continues to be impressive and deep. Skipping ahead a few days, it will be the Los Angeles Dodgers coming to town to kick off the divisional series. Nick Lodolo would outduel Shohei Ohtani for the 1-0 Game 1 victory, and then Jude Rivas would spin a gem to give us the commanding 2-0 lead in the series. Chase Petty, however, would get beat up in LA for the Game 3 loss, but the offense shines bright in Game 4 to win the series 3-1. A very impressive handling of a very good Dodgers squad. The pathway doesn't get any easier, though, as now we have to face the Braves for the right to represent the National League in the World Series. Unfortunately, Spencer Strider would shut down our offense completely and hand us a Game 1 L. We were able to salvage a game in Colorado, though, as Rivas throws another gem for the 2-1 victory. But Chase Petty continues to struggle immensely as he gets roughed up in Game 3, putting us on our heels again. We would take Game 4, setting up a critical matchup in Game 5 between Nick Lodolo and Spencer Strider. And again, Strider shuts down our offense completely, this time putting the Braves a single victory away from a World Series berth. Thankfully, we go back to Colorado for Games 6 and 7. What a time for our offense to show up big time. A huge 10-5 victory forces a Game 7 for all the marbles. But that victory didn't come without a cost. We sadly lost Adele Amador to a wrist injury. He's going to miss the rest of the playoffs regardless of the final result of the NLCS. We will replace him on the roster with Sammy Marquez for the Game 7 showdown. It's going to end up being Chase Petty once again. Absolutely terrifying thinking about that, sending him out there with an ERA over 14 in these playoffs, but what choice do we have? Well, the final nail in the coffin goes as we lose 5-3, pushing the Braves into the World Series and sending us to Cancun. Give Petty some real credit, though. He actually went out there and balled. He pitched a beautiful game, racking up a quality start, giving us a shot at victory. But Jaden Hill allowed 4 base runners in an inning and a third, and both him and Robert Gasser allowed runs in the 9th to let the Braves take a trip to the World Series. A disappointing finish in what was an incredible season from our bullpen. The Braves would take on the Royals for the Commissioner's Trophy. The teams would split the first 4 games, but the Royals took control in Game 5 and slammed the door shut in Game 6 to become world champs. Edward Julian was World Series MVP. Austin Riley and Bobby Witt were the respective playoff MVPs. Vladdy snagged NL MVP honors, while Samuel Basallo ran things in the American League. Joe Ryan and Paul Skeens were your Cy Youngs. Nick Lodolo found himself in second place, so what a hell of a season from him. Jason Dominguez wins NL batting title, while Jet Williams finished in the top 3. Yordan Alvarez hit for another ridiculous .339 batting average to win the AL batting title. Relievers of the year are Andres Munoz and our very own Victor Vodnik. Jude Rivas gets hosed for Rookie of the Year because this game can't calculate service time for awards correctly, which kind of sucks. Hoyt Shirley and Tyler Locklear get these honors instead. No gold gloves for our guys again, but nominations for all of Jet Williams, Zach Veen, and Dylan Cruz. We did bring home some hardware in the Silver Slugger department, however. Harry Ford at catcher and Max Muncy at shortstop, even though we never even played the position. All in all, what a fantastic year for us. 90 plus wins and a playoff berth is already great, but then we got mere innings away from a World Series berth. Feels like we are in a really good position now. We'll just have to keep making smart moves to put us over the top. Things get a hell of a lot tougher from here, though. We aren't sneaking up on anybody anymore, and our budget is going to be a monster to manage. But I have full confidence that we can make it happen. Anyways, that's all I got for you guys in this one. Hope you all are enjoying the series and all of the progress that we are making. But in the meantime, between time, hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'm gone. Deuces!